channel. For today's video, I am doing an autumn reading list, and I picked out quite a different variety of books. I've got 2 classics, 2 young adult or teen fictions, and then I have like a self-help or motivational book, and then a book about veganism as well. So without further ado, let's jump into this giant stack of books. So I'm just going to go through this pile of books that is on my lap. They're not really in any kind of order, but let's just start with the top. So the first book is Heidi. I actually have no idea what this book is about. I just know that it is a classic, and I've really been interested in reading the classics recently just because I didn't really read them a lot growing up. I think the only classic that I really read was Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen, which I absolutely loved. So I figured I would just jump in and start reading the classics. So the back of this book just says, Heidi looked around with growing delight at the mountain peaks she knew so well and which seemed to greet her like old friends. So I'm assuming this has to do with mountains and maybe the Swiss Alps. Not entirely sure what happens in this book, but I'm excited to see what is in store. The next book on my pile is quite a thick one, and it is Little Women. So I know so many people have read this book, but I just never have gotten around to it, and I am intrigued to know what this story is all about just because I have never read it and I have heard so many people talk about it. So this is the second classic on my list, and yeah, I honestly have no idea what this book is about, but we'll find out. Next on my pile is Make Your Bed, Little Things That Can Change Your Life and Maybe the World. So this is like the self-help motivational book that I had picked out. I had seen a video on Facebook a while ago, and it was Admiral William H. McRaven, U.S. Navy retired, and he was speaking, I believe, at a graduation ceremony at a college, and his speech was so motivational, and I just couldn't help but fall in love with what he was saying, so I knew I had to go and get his book. And it's actually quite a thin book. I was expecting something a little bit bigger, but I have no doubt that there is so much inspirational and motivational words in this book, so I'm very excited to read this. The next book on my pile is a teen fiction or a young adult book, and it is called If I Fix You. And then along the side here it says, Are Some Things Meant to Stay Broken? Let's go ahead and read the inside little blip about this book. It says, when 16-year-old Jill Whitaker's mom walks out with a sticky note as a goodbye, only Jill knows the real reason she's gone. But how can she tell her father? Jill can hardly believe the truth herself. Suddenly, the girl who likes to fix things, cars, relationships, romances, people, it's all broken up. With nothing making sense, Jill tries to pick up the pieces of her life when a new guy moves in next door, intense, seriously cute, but with scars that he thinks don't show. Jill finds herself trying to make things better for Daniel, but over one long, hot Arizona summer, she realizes she can't fix anyone's life until she fixes her own, and she knows just where to start. So I'm excited to see what this book holds. I know I always get sucked into teen romance novels, and I'm not entirely sure if that's what this is, but I'm excited to find out, and I always get sucked into books like this, so I know it'll be a good one. The next book on my list is The China Study, and this is by T. Colin Campbell, and it is about veganism. Now, I debated whether or not I would include a vegan book, but it is something that I like to do research on and study and read, so I thought I would include it, especially if there's anybody out there that is interested in learning about veganism. So I've heard so many great things about this book and about the study that was done and everything that is in this book, and I'm just excited to learn a bit more and read some of the research that was done and yeah, see how this will change my opinion. So this will probably be the first book that I decide to read and jump into. into, just because it is such a big passion of mine and I'm really excited to read it. Now, I've got a nice big stack piling up here, but I have one more in my lap, and that is the Gravekeepers. So this is the last teen fiction or young adult book, and I wanted to pick out one that was kind of like spooky, scary, just because of the autumn and Halloween season. And I thought this was a great fit. It is a recently new release. I believe it came out on September 12th. So it is a fairly new book, and I will go ahead and read you guys the inside cover. Lately, 16-year-old Athena Wyndham has been spending all of her spare time in her grave. Her parents, owners of a cemetery in upstate New York, are proud of her devoutness, but her 13-year-old sister Laurel can't understand it. Laurel hates her own grave. It's so boring and chilly down there. She'd rather spend her time exploring the acres and acres of state forest that surround the Wyndham's property. The Wyndham girls lead pretty secluded lives. Their older sister died in a tragic accident the year before Laurel was born, and their parents' protectiveness has made the family semi-infamous in their small town. As the new school year begins, the outside world comes creeping in. Athena, a professional high school loner, grapples with a newfound enemy, and even more surprising, her first best friend. And homeschooled Laurel, sheltered and shy, finds herself face to face with a runaway boy who's hiding out in an abandoned grave. All the while, a ghost hangs around the Wyndham house and cemetery, the only gravekeeper never to cross over, as far as she knows. Messing with people's graves, turning the Wyndham's lights off and on, spying on the sisters, and plotting how to keep the girls close to home and close to her forever. So I think this will be just like a fun little book to read around Halloween time. I am going to be saving that for then, and I will let you guys know what I think about this one. I would suggest picking up this book if you are interested in reading something a little bit more spooky around Halloween time as well. And yeah, I'm excited to see how this book turns out. Okay guys, that is the top of my stack. That is all the books that I have picked out for my autumn reading list. I am sure it will take me a while to get through all of these. Now, I'm curious to know if you guys have any specific books picked out for autumn and what you're going to be reading. So let me know down in the comments which books you are planning on reading this fall. And other than that, I will see you guys in tomorrow's video. Bye!